Hey everyone, welcome back to Psych Hacks, where we explore better living through psychology. I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and today we're tackling a big topic: what men don't understand about female selection. Thanks to the internet, there's been a huge surge in awareness about this. Today's generation has a unique opportunity to understand female dating behavior more clearly than ever before. The sheer amount of information just wasn't available even a decade ago. Now, some of this can be a bitter pill to swallow, but I believe it's ultimately good for both men and women that it's out in the open. One of the most important concepts is hypergamy, the tendency to date up, choosing partners who are, for example, taller, stronger, richer, or have higher status. Hypergamy influences nearly every part of female sexual selection and has some major consequences, so it's crucial to understand it. Unfortunately, there are two common ways men misunderstand this concept, and that's what I want to address today. The first misunderstanding is the most common one. When a lot of men, especially young men, learn about women's selection criteria, they get really discouraged. They hear that women are only interested in the top 10% of men, and they think back to high school or college and realize they weren't in that top tier. So they incorrectly conclude either that they can never reach those upper echelons, or that even if they could, the effort wouldn't be worth it. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. They look at themselves, think, I don't have what a woman really wants, and decide, why even bother? And honestly, on some level, it makes sense. Dating isn't symmetrical. Men initiate most interactions, so they face more rejection on the front end. Women end most relationships, so men also face more rejection on the back end. That rejection hurts. These men might be rationally deciding that a high-risk, low-reward game just isn't for them. If this were about a financial investment, we'd call that decision prudent. But when it's about women, people often have a problem with it. You hear things like, man up or stop sniveling. That's hardly fair. But here's the real point. These men misunderstand the payoff of aligning with hypergamy. The payoff isn't that a woman finally provides you with security or even just sex and a relationship. The real payoff is the growth and prosperity that the man gains for himself. Think about it. A top 10% man can only indirectly benefit a woman, and only if she can get and keep access to him. But that man directly benefits himself. He directly benefits from being stronger, wealthier, and having higher status. These things are primarily good for him. Even if he loses much of his wealth in a divorce, he remains the source of that value. He became that source through the transformational process of becoming a top-tier man. So the first misunderstanding is thinking hypergamy primarily benefits women. It doesn't. It primarily benefits men. Now, before we go on, if you're finding this valuable, please consider sending it to someone who might benefit. Word-of-mouth referrals are what help this channel grow. You can also hit the super thanks button, those 3 little dots in the corner, and show your support. Your donations make all this possible, and I really appreciate it. Okay, so not all men get discouraged. A smaller group gets fired up. They see a clear path forward and think, fantastic, I can hack the game. I can figure out what works, get fit, get rich, get smooth. Let's go get this bread. And in many ways, this is a great response because, as we said, all those things directly benefit the man. However, this is where many men get deceived. The fact is, women don't just hand out sex and relationships simply because a man meets their selection criteria. The idea that doing X will solve problem Y is a very masculine way of thinking that gets projected onto women. Men hear women want a guy with a six-pack and a six-figure income, and they think, great, if I get those things, women will reward me. It's the same logic as, if I buy her a drink and listen to her problems, she'll reward me at the end of the night, just on a larger scale. The disappointing reality is that it doesn't work that way. Sure, all else being equal, a woman is more likely to choose the guy with the six-pack and six-figure income. But it's not true that most women will choose a guy just because he has those things. These might get your foot in the door, but it's better to see meeting hypergamous criteria as a necessary but insufficient condition for opportunity. Unless you're world famous, women aren't going to be lining up to date you, even if you have everything hypergamy says they want. A good-looking brain surgeon can still drink at a bar by himself all night. Why? Because despite the years he spent meeting those criteria, he has to start from scratch with every new woman. He still has to convince her he's not a serial killer. Can you imagine a job interview 20 years into your career where they assume you're an embezzler until proven otherwise? With women, they have to feel safe, heard, and that you're attracted to more than just their body. If you say one wrong thing early on, poof, the opportunity is gone. Yes, the more attracted she is, the easier it gets, but you don't get to bypass this process just because you have biceps and a bank account. You have to start at zero, just like you would have if you hadn't spent 20 years building your status. And if you spent all that time on your abs and income but never learned how to actually seduce a woman, you probably won't get as far as the guy who spent a year learning seduction and has neither. Meeting hypergamous criteria isn't the silver bullet many men hope for. Most of these criteria are what I call attraction proxies. You can have all the markers of a high-status man, and it's still not going to be easy with women. You will still have to approach, make an effort, and be effective. This doesn't change if you're in the top 10%. Maybe it changes in the top 0.001%. I'm not sure, but it definitely doesn't change in the top 10%. Being a high-value man does not lead to effortless sexual opportunity. That's another bitter pill. You could be a neurosurgeon underwear model who shelters abandoned puppies, and a woman will still ask herself, does he remember the day we met? Did he open the door for me? How do I feel when I'm with him? Does he make me laugh? Behind the big hypergamous criteria is an endless list of a woman's personal criteria. Failing to meet just one of them can kill the opportunity no matter how many other boxes you check. So, the second misconception is that meeting hypergamous criteria guarantees sexual opportunity. Interestingly, both misconceptions often lead to the same outcome: men walking away from women, which is a trend we're seeing more and more. What do you think? Does this match your own experience? Let me know in the comments. And if you've made it this far, you might as well like this episode and subscribe. You can also become a channel member for perks like priority comment reviews or book a paid consultation. As always, thank you for listening.